Hi guys, you're welcome to another episode of Mailbox. On today's Mailbox, we'll be addressing different mails from different people from all over the world. My name is Adesheun and with me is...
And I'm Wale.
Our first mail is from Felix. Felix is from Nigeria. Felix says, hidden property. I just found out my wife owns a property she never told me about. We've been married 6 years and always talked about being open. She said she bought it before we met, so it doesn't matter. But I feel hot. She kept it a secret. Am I wrong to feel this way?
Hi Felix, you're not wrong to feel that way. You're justified to feel, left out, because essentially when people come into a marriage or a marriage entity, one of the first requirements is what they call transparency. Transparency being that whatever it is that you have as assets and debts must be brought to the table. It marks a new beginning, and you find out even in some sects, some people have debts that they didn't disclose to their partners. And so when two become one, because the concept of marriage is two becoming one on all aspect of life, in every regard, in every aspect of life. And there is also a reason why the wife might not have said this conversation, which means it could be on the premise of a baggage or an experience that she has seen as far as life is concerned. Because usually when two becoming one is that somebody leaves their parents or their mothers and are cleaving to the next person, but they actually don't cleave. So you see people have different things, different nuances, different advices that people come and tell them, things like, you don't disclose all of these things to your spouse. You can keep this. In fact, the origin of what they call vex money starts from here. So somebody will say a woman must always have a vex money just in case your husband misbehaves so that you can do some of those things. Now, those are advice that people give to people. And instead of you just getting upset, you need to find out what forms the basis of those things. Because she might be, defensive and say, oh, I had this before marriage and all of that. There are potential of a lot of things. Does she believe in the same value? And then you also must ask yourself, are there things that you are also hiding from her in the name of she doesn't need to know? Because anybody who is going to come to the party must come with a clean hands. Right. So transparency on both sides is essential, and you absolutely don't have the right. But before you get so upset about that, ask yourself, are there things also that you're keeping that, she doesn't or she's not aware of?
Okay, so I'm going to take a cue from where you actually stopped, because you pretty much spoke my mind as far as that was concerned. So I'll be seeing it in a very slightly different way, or an addition. So I was speaking to somebody in the course of the week, and I was saying most times in relationship, it's not always difficult for a woman to open up as such, so long they see the kind of person they are dealing with. So there might be a high tendency that she has actually, because this marriage is 6 years. Right. It's not 6 months, it's not a year. 6 years is a whole lot of, they skipped the 0 to 5, that everybody is still struggling. So there's a high tendency that, Felix, there are some things about you that she's pretty not sure about, or probably she's seen you mismanage certain information or certain things that it's even possible that you actually have a whole lot of, because we must look at this thing in an holistic manner. We shouldn't just be one-sided when we're looking at that. Okay, so in a marriage, for a woman to be quiet about something as serious as that has to do with you can't pretty much hide a property over time, because there are things that needs to be done. There are informations, there's documentation that the guy can actually stumble on, so you can't pretty much continue to hide it if there's no reason for you to hide, because most women really like to open up. In fact, some informations that their partner do not even need. You see a female talking, I don't know, for men they can be quite a bit secretive if they want to, but for female they have tendency of trying to show transparency when it comes to things like that. So I think yes, you'll be hurt because of course you're just discovering. However, I don't want you to take it too serious, because in as much as transparency is one of the qualities in a relationship, it's not the bedrock of that marriage. So I would want you to address it in a more matured way than you being hurt, than you fighting. just let her know. There's also no reason. Since you already know, just come out and say, oh, this is what I desire, and see how she's going to respond to it. On that premise, I think you just need to let her, give her a bit of comfort and let her know that this is where you stand.
Right.
You would also appreciate if she's also on the same page, because it would not be nice as couples to be discovering a lot of things as the marriage. So I think you should be, instead of being hot and trying to talk to people about it, I think you should just call her. And then, because it's not, we are not talking about character now or issues that are more serious, you know. So just call her, and then I'm sure there are still other things that you people will still unveil in the course of the marriage. So just call her, speak to her about it, and I'm sure you guys can reach a sensible conclusion. I hope we've pretty much been able to.
Absolutely.
So our second mail is from Anna, or Anne. She's from US. She said, unexpected change. We moved from Ghana to US 3 years ago. Last week, we went back to Ghana for a family wedding, but left our kids in the US. Upon returning, I was shocked to find my son had already made his hair. I'm not sure how to approach this or how to talk to him about it.
Okay. Interestingly, I mean, in recent times, I've been answering this question. Now, this is plain now, being plain. There is absolutely nothing wrong with making your hair as a male, right? But I understand the dynamics of, what's it called now, cultural nuances that brings you to the point where you feel uncomfortable that somebody is making their hair. Now, from a religious perspective, there is absolutely nothing wrong. And, you know, the dynamics of it, let me give you an example. I mean, I came from a CSA background. When my aunt saw that I grew beards, and, you know, she was extremely worried. Even though I'm a pastor, and she goes, why are you growing beards? This is ungodly. I'm like, all the people we read in the Bible have beards. So where did you get? So they are the works of men, or they are the things that men actually do want. Now, however, if your son plaiting his hair came from the background of what he's seen on the outside, is another conversation entirely, which means he's susceptible to peer pressure. And as far as we are concerned, that is not a premise to do anything. That's, which is, I mean, there's peer pressure as to that. Now, because there are times, there is a time for everything. This same chap might not have that same hair in 40 years time, in 50 years time. So it's a time, it's a phase thing. Understand that everything in life is actually a phase by phase thing. There are times where you are able to do certain things. There are times when you're not able to do those things. My own conversation will be that if you're able to take care of the hair, let it be neat, let it be okay. I should be all right with that. I'm not talking about environmental. And this is not me supporting or probably causing a division of some sort. You also might also need to reevaluate your perception about how you see life in general. And also, what does the scripture say about this entire conversation? So in more recent times, a lot of teenagers and a lot of moms have been coming to ask questions as to that. So I'm asking them, do they still do the things that they normally do at home? Because if there is a phase of rebellion that a child goes through, where you begin to obsess over why they shouldn't do something, especially when they are teenagers, you know, you ask yourself, do you want your will, or is it just a different? So where is this source of pushback? Where is it coming from? I mean, that's the question I would address.
Okay, so he says now, I'm not sure how to approach this or to talk to him about it. I also can't understand why you want to talk to him about what? About why he needs to keep the hair, or why he needs to be tidy. Which one are we talking about here? Because you went for a wedding just last week. You came back, he's making his hair already, meaning he's had an afro all the while. Meaning it's not even the volume of the hair that is the problem. The fact that I'm sure probably the guy is now worried from the gender approach. Probably the son is swinging. Maybe that's his fear, or based on an experience that he's had, or maybe because of what he's seeing around. So I would, sir, I would actually want you to actually put your mind at rest, because the truth about the matter is, for most parents, where we pay attention to, it's not the direction. You are looking at the son's hair. Your focus should actually be on the kind of son you are trying to go. What knowledge or what have you imbibed in those children? What kind of children are they? Because the truth about the matter is, even if it's about the hair that you are not comfortable with, if there's children that they have a father-son relationship, this question of how to approach, or you can't pretty much tell me you are asking how you want to approach your son on how to talk to them. If you understand what I mean, because there are a couple of issues as a teenager that you guys will have trashed out that are even worse than making hair, choosing subjects, taking a course, doing stuff. So it's a long walk. So the hair is even minor. It's like type 1000. You still have a long way you are going to. So I think attention should be more on
the values,
the value that the boy has. What kind of son is he? What can you see? Are you putting the word of God? Does he have word of knowledge? What are the things that he's oozing out, even as a human being? If those things are okay, I think your focus should be more on putting him in the right path as a son, so that at the end of the day, it would be a blessing to the society.
And to yourself.
Yes, and to the family. Not paying attention on, well, okay, so what if you gave birth to him as somebody with the natural dreadlocks, that you've been keeping it? So you just went 1 week, you came back with the hair. The boy has an afro before. How was he keeping it? So it means that it's even possible that the afro has been giving a lot of issues.
And he feels that the tidiest way to do this to
or maybe he even wants to see your reaction. So you should react to it. If you think you have a problem, I think you should talk about it. If you don't have a problem with it, you should also talk about it, than trying to look for a solution out there or elsewhere, or forming attitude, or thinking, okay, because your son now has hair, he's turned to a bad boy. The hair is not equal to bad boys. In fact, you can have Korean bolo like an outside person,
be the
baddest guy.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, but I have a teenage son, and in more recent times, I had a conversation with him. Because I know he had liked some girl in his class, right? So I brought the conversation up while we're strolling, and then he goes, "That Daddy, why do you want to know?" I said, "Well, you've been having this conversation with this person, you know." And then he goes, "Yeah, that I asked her out, and then she said no." So I said, "So why did you think she said it?" She said she likes somebody else. I said, "So how does that make you feel?" And he goes, "Doesn't make me feel anything." To be honest, I thought my son didn't have that emotional stability until that particular conversation. So I said, "So when did she say?" I said, "Close to the exam." I said, "How did it affect?" He said, "It didn't affect me anyhow." I said, "Why? Why do you think so?" He said, "I've been thinking about it, that if I'm going to ever get married to someone, the time between to start dating and that time is too long, that he doesn't think is correct for anybody to date now if you're not ready to get married." And I looked at him and I said, I never thought you had this emotional stability to think about things this way. Again, it gave me a new level of respect for him and his decisions, which I think is also a system of value that is being imputed. And I told him, to be honest, I said, when I was younger, I did not have this analytical behavioral pattern to even think about it, because you showed more maturity than I did at my age. So I think it's the same thing. The value system is important.
So pretty much, I think we've been able to address your concern. The next mail is from Ipeleng from South Africa.
Okay.
Virginity pressure. She said, I'm 25 and still a virgin. And lately, I've been feeling pressured by society and some friends to lose my virginity. I want to wait until I'm fully comfortable. But I feel like people are judging me. How do I deal with this pressure without feeling like I'm doing something wrong? I don't know if it's he or she. Sometimes when we talk about virginity,
we think it's a female.
So, but maybe because it's South African, I'm sure by the time they hear this name, you would be able to say if it's male or female. But most times when there are virginity questions,
usually
they're female. So she, let's say
right.
she.
So we're assuming it's she. I think it's about conviction.
Right.
Because a lot of the time, people are keeping their virginity on the premise of a fad that we think is coming to an extinction. But until you have a conviction about why you're doing what you're doing, then, I mean, virginity conversation is not even a conversation that has to do with a female. I mean, as a male too, people actually take that oath of chastity. And the reason is very simple. You actually get mixed up in your mind when emotions start to come in play. You know, I think from a religious point of view, some people have said things like, you know, something about body count, and people speak about, what's that thing called now? There's something they speak about that when you sleep with one person and then you sleep with the devil carries your same body and then transfers it. So if you sleep with 20 people, by the time you are married, you are carrying 20 people's experience into that marriage. I don't believe in that. What I believe essentially, and you know, all of these things can actually be from the scriptures, because somebody can say, all things have passed away, all things have become new, which is true. However, there is the concept of you having a knowledge of different people that affects your marriage. Because when you go into a place with tabula rasa, you are actually pure. In fact, from that moment, you stop every conversation about cheating, about all of those things. And most of the challenges people have in marriage as a result of the experiences they've had. So somebody feels, you know, this person is not doing enough. How did you know this person is not doing enough? It's because of experience. So to stop all of those things, it's important. And so as a person, you must be convinced completely. Not because if somebody is convinced about it, let me give you an example. There's nothing wrong drinking alcohol. There's nothing wrong smoking. However, you can't tempt me to do any of those things. And the reason is that there is a conviction that comes with it. So when somebody is pressured by other people, it means that there is something about it that if you go and succumb to it, then you might actually regret the thing. So it's important to wait till the time that you have decided for you to wait. All right. Don't let the society take the better chance. And half of the society don't even know what they are doing. Because that's what we found out. We found out that most of the people in the society, they succumb to peer pressure, mob mentality, which essentially is not always the right thing. So please do as you are convinced completely on that.
Okay. So Ipeleng, she said that I want to wait until I'm fully comfortable. So I like the fact that she has a mind of her own and she has a decision. She's already actually made the decision. However, if you really need to hear from us, so if you are a virgin and you're 25 and you've been feeling pressured by society and some friends, I want to gladly tell you that virginity is not the only pressure that will be coming from society or from. So in fact, in this sphere of life, everything comes with this pressure, either from society or from people. However, as an individual, you must actually be convinced and have a mind of your. Virginity is minor because, I mean, what the big deal? It's good to keep yourself because of certain reasons, certain premises. I mean, and it's more even mental than physical. That's the truth about it, because for even people that are sexual workers or people that are so much into frequent, is more for female, it is more mental than the physical activity in itself, because the value that people put in that sex in itself is even more than the action. Because at the end of the day, you'll be like, okay,
is that all?
What else is supposed to be like the continuity of this whole shenanigans? So it's important that you understand the fact that being a virgin, it's okay, you've been keeping yourself, but there are also pros and cons to things. You know, by the time you're actually exposed to another level of how your body should be or how it should look like, the way you will process things would actually be different. So it is more for you to be comfortable in that decision than the society. And the earlier you have a mind of your own, the better for you, because it's a long walk. Yeah. Society comes with different things. After losing the virginity, the guy you are staying with or that you are with, the society and your friend will still start judging the person. The guy is not tall enough, he's not short enough, he doesn't have money. Would you listen to society by that time? Yeah. When you want to get married, society will come in, family will come in. You finish that one, you want to pick a job, society will come in. You get married, you want to have children. Oh, yeah, have children now, don't have children. Or you have a boy, you don't have a girl, do this one. So at every stage in life, it's just like when you start having babies and people say, oh, don't this one, don't this one. By the time you finish reading the whole of the dictionary or the Google, you finish Google about how a baby sleeps. Once you finish stage 1 to 2 and you move to 3, it's a different thing. Absolutely. You move to 4, it's a different thing. So let's see whatever decision you want to make beyond losing virginity or beyond pressure. See it as making a life decision at different stage. If you allow society or people to start controlling everything for you from now, it goes a long way. You will begin to consider them. See, so long you're convinced, you're comfortable, you've spoken to God in the place of prayer, whatever decision you want to take, it's your body. It's to, in fact, it is to your body. So when you're ready and you're comfortable with it, please go ahead and ignore pressure from society and friends.
So like a quote says, it says, when it comes to style, be very flexible. But when it comes to the matters of principle, be hard as a rock. I'm going to just finish with that.
So that's it. So we hope we've been able to speak to you as to the decision to take. Pretty much that will be all on this episode of Mailbox. I still remain Adeshuan. With me is
Wale.
Till next time.